Hey guys, Matthew here, and welcome to episode number 7 of the Abusing Harvest series. So, from the look of things, it seems that you guys want to see crafts that are a little bit cheaper because the ones that I've been showcasing have been a little bit more high end. So one craft that I've been doing for pretty much the entire league and that has been netting me pretty decent profit and pretty consistent profit is going to be Essence Drain Contagion Wand. So you could go with either the one for self-cast Essence Drain or for Spell Slinger. The only difference is going to be in the base you're using. So if you're going for a wand for Essence Drain Contagion, you'll want to be using an Opal wand. If you're going for Spell Slinger, you'll want to be using an Imbued wand because it has more attack speed on base. That is really the only difference. So depending what you're crafting for, you'll be wanting to use either Opal or Imbued, and that is up to you to decide. There is no real difference in terms of price or anything though. So first thing we're going to want to look at is PoEDB here, and we'll look at basically the amount of chaos rolls that are possible on a wand. So you'll see that there's a decent amount of them, and there's only a handful that we really care for. We care for the +1 to all chaos, and we care for the damage over time multiplier. Now the thing that we don't care about is everything else. So we don't care about the flat chaos damage, and we don't care about the as extra chaos damage. So an interesting thing is that if you look, you'll see that the lowest level for gain as extra is 66. Therefore, if we use a level 65 wand and we look at the chaos rolls possible on them, they are severely diminished. There's always the chaos resistance, and then there's going to be the level of chaos gems, which is what we care about. And then there's going to be our chaos damage over time multiplier. You'll see that we can't roll T1 chaos damage over time multiplier anymore, which is 34 to 38, I believe. And that is due to the lower item level. But that is still pretty damn good considering how deterministic it's going to be in our crafting. So the first thing we're going to do is basically grab a wand, either Opal or Imbued, of item level 64 or 65. So 64 is the minimum for the chaos damage over time multiplier, and 66 is where the as extra begin. Therefore 64 and 65 guarantees that it's very easy to get everything that we want. So the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to use this wand and alt spam it for level of all spell skill gems. You'll see that it takes a fair bit of alterations to acquire this, about 2,000. So it's not like it's incredibly easy, but fortunately alterations are over 1,200 for an exalt. Therefore, this is not even 2 exalts, and this is like the most expensive part of the whole process. The most expensive part is basically going to be the alt spam and the +1. Now, once we have the +1, we'll jump in game, and I don't have one, but let's just say I did. So if this was a wand with +1 level of all socketed gems and nothing else, which is what we care about, or not socketed gems, sorry, +1 level of all spell skill gems, I would go ahead and personally, because it's 2,000 alterations, I would go ahead and imprint it in case something goes wrong along the way. I think it's totally worth it. The imprints are like 0.4 exalt. They're called Chrysic Kimmerl. And in my opinion, using that 0.4 exalt as a safety button is worth it. So I would go ahead and imprint it. Now, of course, you don't have to, because no matter what you're gonna get on the wand, you'll be able to get rid of it later, anyways. But I like to have this safety button in case I buy a craft off somebody and they use the wrong craft or something like that happens. I feel like it's completely worth it. But if you want to save the money and go for a little bit of a gamble, you could also do that. So now once I would have imprinted, I would go ahead and augment. Now the reason why we augment is because it guarantees us a suffix, and for this specific craft, because we don't want to be putting chaos resistance on it, which is a suffix when we augment chaos, we will want to make sure that the suffixes are full and with nothing that is detrimental to our craft on it. So the next thing I'm going to do after I basically guarantee myself a single suffix, and if it's not a good suffix, it doesn't matter because, again, we'll be able to get rid of it later. I'm also going to regal. Now, depending on what I regal, there's a few different methods I could go about it. If I regaled a suffix here, that would have been perfect. Unfortunately, I regaled a prefix. So that means there's a few different things I can do. The first thing I can do is basically beastcraft it. So I can beastcraft it, which is called a Ferric Links Alpha, which is going to remove a prefix and add a random suffix. Now the problem with that is that it doesn't guarantee which one it's going to hit. Therefore, there's a 50-50 of bricking my wand. Now, of course, if I had imprinted it beforehand, I would have been fine, because so long as it's imprinted, I could just try again. It's my safety button. That being said, if I did not imprint the wand beforehand, what I could do now is just remove a fire modifier. And pretty much every single thing that is not mana, you'll be able to remove with the League mechanic anyways, so it doesn't really matter. Now, the worst case scenario is if you hit mana, because then there is no other good solution. The only real thing you can do is going to be to remove a prefix and add a suffix. Or, what you could do at that point, which would kind of suck but be possible, would be to remove the life modifier here in this case, or remove any suffix that I have, and then to take care of the mana, what I would do is, since this level of all spell skill gems is a caster modifier, I would do remove non-caster, add caster. So by doing so, I would guarantee to get rid of the mana, and I also guarantee to get something that I can get rid of somehow, because it's going to give me a caster modifier. So for example, it could turn into fire damage to spells, which I can remove using fire. It could turn into, spell damage, which I can well, not safely remove because it's only caster as well, but then it would also come down to a 50-50. But so long as it comes down to something I can remove with the League mechanic, I can always do that very easily. Now, so what I'm going to go ahead and do here is I'll beastcraft it, because why not? So I'll go ahead and beastcraft this one, and let's go ahead and say that this was a success. So my mana, which is what I had initially, was supposed to be the +1 to all level of spell skill gems. Therefore, this would have been a successful beastcraft. Now you'll see that I have a prefix and 2 suffixes, which means I can block the last suffix by simply crafting something on it that is not chaos related. So I would go ahead and say craft fire resistance. At this point, I would have the +1 to all spell skill gems alongside 3 suffixes, which have nothing to do with chaos resistance. So if I augment a chaos modifier, I am basically guaranteed to get either +1 level of chaos gems or some amount of chaos damage over time multiplier. Now, the damage over time multiplier has 4 different tiers, since we can't get T1, and they amount to about 1,000 weighting altogether, while the +1 is 200. So it's 5 times more likely to roll one of these chaos damage over time multiplier of any given tier. Now, fortunately, the roll for chaos augments and rerolls are much, much cheaper now. So what I would do, personally, is I would augment a new chaos modifier. Now, if you go to Forbidden Harvest here, and we type in augment a new chaos modifier, you'll see that there is no required seed level, meaning you could actually use some quarry seeds if you wanted to, because our wand would be level 64 to 65. And we could go minimum vouchers 10 to make sure it's, not a brand new account. And you'll see that it's about 20, 30, 40 C to augment a new chaos modifier. Now, that is going to guarantee us either this or that. One of these. What I would personally do is re-roll that chaos that chaos damage over time multiplier until you get T1. So I know that this is a little bit harder to do, and potentially where most of your currency would go other than the alt spamming. But technically, if augments and remove a random chaos modifier and add a new chaos modifier, these are about 30 to 40 C each as well. So given the fact that we can reroll them for about 20, 30 C, 30, 40 C, and augments are also 30, 40 C, we'll have to augment it once and then reroll it an average of about 11 times, basically, or 12 times, to get this T1. Now, you could obviously stop at T2, and that would make a very good wand as well. But if you wanted to go for those juicier wands of, the 10 to 15x range, you'd probably want to reroll it until you get the T2. And now, once you do get the T2, which is technically the T1 for that item level, you can just augment a chaos again, and because you already have one of those and you can't get this, the only thing you're going to be able to get is the +1. At which point, you've got two different choices here. Now, at that point, you would have the +1 to all spell skill gem, +1 to all chaos, and then finally, you would have the chaos damage over time multiplier of either T1 or T2 or whatever you end up accepting. And your suffixes would be filled with 2 random suffixes and a crafted one. So the easiest way is to just change that suffix to trigger socketed spell gems, and then you would automatically have a sellable wand, such as, for example, this one, which is lightning damage and attack speed, which are both useless. Um, that would be one of your solutions. The other thing you could do is prefixes cannot be changed. Scour. That being said, that adds an extra 2 exalts, and the only thing you're going to get out of that is being able to multi-mod alongside the percent chaos damage, which you can see here. But the percent chaos damage is literally only 16%, and it's not a multiplicative, it's only an additive. So yeah, there is a jump in terms of price, but you're also investing 2x to do prefixes not be changed and 2x to multi-mod. So is it really worth it? I would say it's not. Now, you'll see the cheapest one right now with T2 and multi alongside the +1 and trigger is 10 exalts. And if you went through this whole process here, it would cost you about 5 exalts to make it, meaning you double your currency. So this is just about one of the best return of investment that you can get for low investment crafts. I know that some people are asking for like 10C crafts or 20C crafts, but unfortunately that's just not possible. There is no such thing as a 20C craft that sells for multiple exalts. You gotta start low, but you can't start that low because there is a threshold to the cheapest crafts you can make if you want to make some actual decent return of investments. So that's pretty much how you would craft one of these wands for about, as I said, 5x. Double your money real quick. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And you know what? If you get lucky with the reroll on the chaos, which is about half the price, or if you get lucky on the alt spamming, which is the other half of the price, you can pretty much be making those for even less than 5x. With a little bit of luck, you can literally make one for 2 to 3x, which is absolutely insane considering how OP these ones really are and what they actually sell for. So definitely a craft that I would recommend. One that I've personally used many times already this league, and that has made me a decent little bit of currency, especially when I was starting off at the beginning of the league with my crafts. That being said, back then the chaos augments and rerolls were much more expensive. Chaos augments were like 2x and rerolls were like 2x. So now we're talking about 40C instead of 2x, which is a big jump in price. So before I go, I do want to say a huge thank you to my supporters, as always: Gaikona, Kfish, Zachary, Luro, Scott, Dr. Radu, Casticus, Francesco, Amzo, Skorov, Mr. Coffee, Mario, and Jungle Dog, as well as anybody else who wishes to remain anonymous, and anybody else who supports me on different platforms. Huge thanks to everybody for watching the video. Hopefully you learned a little something, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.